Hello, fountain pen friends, ladies and gentlemen, fountain pen aficionados, collectors all over the world. Welcome to this video. Thanks for joining in. And in this video, I'm going to talk about issues I saw and dislike, especially with Aliexpress and most, at least some Indian sellers. So this is not a normal video, a review about fountain pens. It is more a review about online sales and the things, the negative developments I saw during the last 2 years, at least during the last 2 years. Please do not understand this as a political statement. Otherwise, I should also criticize the developments in Western markets, the price developments, which are the result of completely uncontrolled financial sectors only to the benefit of billionaires, investors and banks, but again and again supported by voters. At least this is only my personal interpretation, of course. Everyone is free to have a different opinion. Please always keep in mind that the content of this video does reflect only my thoughts and conclusions. Some viewers might agree, some might disagree. I truly believe it is time to address the negative developments of online sales platforms in general and in particular regarding fountain pens. Because fountain pens, that is the market or my interest. Every fountain pen friend depends more or less on Aliexpress and to a certain extent on Indian fountain pen products. Either to collect more fountain pens or simply because many among our community can't afford the skyrocketing price explosions at Western markets, manufacturers and dealers. Sure, inflation is a reason, one reason, but it isn't God-given. It is man-made and much too often driven by greed. Most of those hefty price increases are, in my book, unjustified. Mostly for the sake of increasing profits. This is my point of view. I don't ask anyone to share my views, and I don't want to convince anyone. I don't see myself as a missionary. So, what did I observe? Aliexpress. Ali was and is China's window for Chinese products to the world. It started with Alibaba, a business-to-business platform. Soon, Aliexpress came. It's a business-to-consumer platform. Taobao, consumer-to-consumer platform, also owned by Alibaba Group. And later on, Cainiao, the shipping solution company founded by Alibaba. They also have, I think, interests and stakes in insurance business, banking, and so on. But that's not the point here. So they are really successful, and most probably the success of recent years let them become arrogant and rude, at least in my book. For my taste, Ali's current behavior is just a complete disrespect of buyers. Why I say buyers and not customers, I will explain in a minute. Ali is an online platform, like many others, Amazon, for example. And they are offering electronic solutions and storage capacity for every seller in China with a business license, just like Amazon, but with many differences, sometimes huge differences. Western platforms are bound to many legal hurdles and laws like consumer protection, customer protection, export regulations, and they do follow those laws. My guess, based on what I recognized over the years, what I had to experience, is that Ali doesn't regard the abroad living buyers as their customers, but they regard their sellers as their customers. Because these sellers are paying for the services and China implemented a consumer customer protection law years ago already. So in my book, Ali obeys them, and they better do, as neglecting the Communist Party's rules will have immediate and harsh consequences. You can ask Jack Ma, a billionaire, the initiator and co-founder of the Alibaba Group, who dared to criticize the party. He was ousted from his own company and lives now since years outside China. As a comfortable consequence, the buyers, the real customers, those who keep the show alive with their money, are ignored as customers. So they don't have to be protected by the existing Chinese laws. Just look up on Google the vast complaints of Ali buyers, stating the non-existing service, denying justified claims, difficulties to raise a claim with them, and the very, very long time frame a customer has to wait until he or she can raise a claim, which is most probably going to be denied in most cases. And in my book, this is not customer or consumer protection. That comes close to deliberately organized deception, fraud, in other words. The increasing lead times, the delivery times, seems to be part of a drastic cost reduction program carried out on the back of customers. Since 2025 began, low-cost shipping methods are standard. They are becoming a standard. In my case, in Thailand, with a 20-day or longer waiting time from China's Guangdong province, Canton, to Bangkok, 20 days. A distance, I think, maybe not more than 1,300 kilometers. In 2024, I received parcels within 6 to 8 days, sometimes 10 to 12 days. The service was called Aliexpress Standard Delivery and was fast and reliable. Now they are using low-cost solutions such as Sunyu, which is a private shipping company, one among many in China, or Kainiao for special goods, or Kainiao economy, or other methods with fancy names, just hiding the fact of low-cost, low-quality transportation with extended lead times. Another factor of increasing shipping times is the use of drop shipments. More and more stores, more and more sellers are reducing stock and can use their suppliers or a third party doing the packing and shipping out process for them. They don't have any influence and control over what, how, and when their supplier or the third party solution is doing this first step of shipping. And they don't care. I have to come back to this a little bit later. Cainiao is also founded and owned by Alibaba as their solution center for shipments by themselves or with subcontractors. To what extent they operate an own forwarding agent business, I don't know. I guess the vast majority is subcontractor business. So now it's time to explain a nasty trick. When customers are looking at the offers and some more details, lead times are estimated between quite short up to for all eternity. After placing your order and having paid, your money is safe with us. The electronic confirmation reveals the bitter truth. On top, you can find an information stating this order will be shipped in a number of days. In many cases, I saw shipped in 12 days. Otherwise, you will be refunded automatically. And now sellers who don't have control over the drop shipment execution by the third party or their supplier or whoever can use and will use and make use of the trick, which is simply confirming electronically shipped out. And that eliminates the threat to lose the order, to lose the profit, as Ali's own tracking system, which became very buggy and slow since early 2025, count this order now as shipped, and the truth is far from it. Just look up Cainiao tracking on the web. Enter your tracking number and it reveals awaiting seller's dispatch. Means nothing has been done, only a click by a seller in order to avoid losing the order, losing the profit. Now the journey of your parcel will start somewhere and somewhen, accompanied by many interim storage facilities which are organized as groupage handling. Means they are waiting for more parcels for the same interim destination, another interim storage point. Once the container is filled, transportation continues until your parcel is finally loaded onto a plane. In the destination country, the same slow forwarding procedures will happen, as I had to encounter it and endure it with all my 2025 shipments from China. And why all this fuss? Why all these problems? Why all these drastic changes? Reducing service. My guess is the Chinese government subsidized the Chinese transportation sector in order to support and boost all export businesses. And this happened since a few decades already. And I believe there happened a drastic cut recently. This is only my conclusion based on the information that China's economy is under pressure since 1 or 2 years, and even their almighty president is harshly criticized in the public, by the public as well, and that means a lot in China. In addition, maybe we all saw a rapid and drastic increase of prices, driven by sellers only, in my book, not by manufacturers. My guess, the usual greed took over. And maybe there is also another reason. Alibaba Group, Aliexpress, sponsored in 2024 two mega sport events. The latest Olympic Games and the European Championship tournaments in football from the UEFA. And those sponsorships are not cheap. So you have to lay down a lot of money, and maybe Alibaba or Aliexpress raised their prices with the sellers, and so they have to raise prices. But I think this is not the full truth. And it is not the reason for the sometimes very, very drastic price increasements. And my guess here is the Western price levels are drastically increasing. Why not trying to participate? In 2024, I regarded one aggressive seller who started this price increases and was swiftly followed by most other sellers. And not only fountain pens, it covers all products on AliExpress. One fact is the Chinese retail market prices are much lower. Differences of more than 100% didn't become unusual now, especially for newly launched models and fountain pens. And it is not limited to fountain pens only. As I said, all products are affected. Why can I say that? Because I'm using Lazada, a Southeast Asian online platform founded in Singapore 2012 by a German entrepreneur supported by a company called Rocket Internet. Already 2016, 4 years later, Alibaba bought the majority of shares with $1 billion investment. $1 billion. Not only Alibaba invested, but also Tesco and Temasek Holding, a Singaporean investment company owned by the state of Singapore, Summit Partners, JP Morgan Chase, Investment AB Kinnevik in Sweden, Tengelmann, a German retail group, are or were significant shareholders. This is just for basic informations. Since Ali is the controller of Lazada, a huge number of Chinese sellers are offering on Lazada as well. And what I found out, the same products offered on Ali in US dollars are now available for Southeast Asian customers in their local currencies and much less pricey. Not only fountain pens. This holds true for nearly every product. I bought A5 paper recently, 100 grams per square meter, loose sheets, 48 sheets in one package. Maybe I would say 40% less of the Ali price on Lazada from a Chinese seller. And the lead time, 6 to 8 days from order placement to my doorstep. So that means the same mother company, Alibaba, and their daughter companies have different ways of treating their customers. Strange, I would say. At least strange. And that is proof enough for me to decide to ignore AliExpress from now on, even if I miss some great pens in the future. Then it is just like that. Coming to Indian manufacturers and sellers. In general, I absolutely do not believe and never believed this fairy tale ridden to death about handmade. Every seller, every manufacturer is offering handmade fountain pens made in India. No, most manufacturers with high outputs and international business obligations can't achieve a reasonable number of output in order to fulfill their business obligations. And looking closely to those advertised fountain pens, it is obvious they are manually produced. They are machine-made. This handmade bores me to death and annoys me at the same time. Sure, no doubt, there are still small artisan companies, single entrepreneurs, who still produce most fountain pens by hand. Motifs, colors are applied by hand. And if one wants to know what handmade is, please search on Google for a video from Ratnam Sons. They are saying they are one of the eldest fountain pen producers in India, and they made a fountain pen for Mahatma Gandhi, gave it to him as a present, as a gift, and he signed with this fountain pen from Ratnam Sons the Indian Constitution in, I'm not sure, 1947 or something like that, when India became independent from Great Britain. I will put a description, or better to say, I will put a link in the description below of this video. It is really very, very interesting to see how fountain pens made by hand and also nibs. That was really fascinating and is fascinating to see. Prices. India is calling themselves an emerging country. India's labor costs is now lower than the Chinese, and that is since a few years a fact. Employee protection laws are either not existing or of much lower standard. A reason why Apple and its subcontractor Foxconn left China and built a production facility in India, just for the aim of higher profits for their investors, which is possible by much longer working hours and lower wages in India. Visit some manufacturer sites. You might be able to see prices in Indian rupee. But as a foreigner with an outside India address, you have to pay in hard currency, not in rupee. They are forcing you to pay in US dollars, euros, British pound, whatever. In my case, I have to choose US dollars, which is to the benefit of PayPal and my bank, who are both charging hefty charges just for doing their electronically supported job, transferring money from Thailand, for example, to India. But that's the name of the game. Because I'm still curious, I compare these Indian rupee prices for the locals with the prices in foreign currency US dollar. And look at that, surprise, surprise. I saw several suppliers, manufacturers and dealers with a 20 to 33% adder for the foreign customers, and which is most probably based on the usual stupid, brazenly way of thinking. Foreigners have much more money than they have to pay us more. It won't hurt them. Shipments, either by India Post, which is basically a real low-cost service, but it can take a long time, longer than usual. And some sellers are putting also some additional charges or some adders, additional adders on these quite low-cost postage fees. Why I know that? I received one EMS letter showing the real charges in rupee. There was a sticker on that letter, and it was showing the rupee price. the postage rupee price. I converted this into US dollar, and surprisingly, that was a charge of 2.45 US dollars. The seller charged 25 US dollars, and I, the moron, paid it. I guess that the same surpluses are put on FedEx and UPS in general. FedEx and UPS are not the cheapest, but most reliable shipping methods. And FedEx, for example, the standard rates I see on the internet are 39 US dollars for shipments for international shipments. For a parcel of less than 500 grams. And I'm sure also here sellers are putting an additional adder on the real cost. And UPS, FedEx charging not the same amounts they can charge in so-called developed countries. In order to stay in business, they have to adopt the local price levels and local purchasing power. I'm sure of that. And so far, I only found one manufacturer, Delmoon of New Delhi, where I encountered an absolute fair pricing and shipping cost. That's why I know I have a pretty good idea about the real shipping cost. I can't help it. I feel huffy and humiliated by such business practices. And therefore, I draw my conclusions. How about you? Enjoy your fountain pens and any of your further purchases. Maybe they are fair priced at a reasonable level of shipping cost. Thank you for watching. I hope you find this at least interesting and informative. How you do your purchases, where do you spend your money, and how much do you spend, this is completely up to you. I just wanted to mention issues which I found, which I saw, and which I absolutely dislike. Have a nice week. Have a prosper life. Enjoy your fountain pens. Take care and bye-bye.